That was a huge epiphany for me. That was probably one of the biggest ahas of my life. Hello from the messy middle of cleaning out a loved one's home. Never in my life have I felt more convicted, more strongly, or more connected to the idea of Swedish death cleaning than I do right now in this moment. And I wanted to record this video while it was still fresh in my mind, fresh on my heart. I don't see myself releasing these lessons anytime soon, but the time was now to share this with you. So I'm really glad that you're here. So if you are new, I'm Jen. I've been on a journey with Swedish death cleaning for a couple of years now, motivated in part by my situation with my mom. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about my mom to protect her privacy. If you are one of my patrons, I have done a couple of videos about it, going a little bit more in detail, specifically about Alzheimer's, dementia care, the journey to getting her where she is now, all of those kinds of things. You are welcome to join us on Patreon. There will be a link down in the description box. But for the purposes of this video, I really want to focus more on what walking this process with her has taught me and how I want to proceed with my own home. As I've been Swedish death cleaning, and if you don't know what that is, I've done several videos about it. It's based on a Swedish tradition that was put into a book by a woman named Margaret Magnusson. And there's also a television show that you can see on Peacock that was hosted by Amy Poehler, amazing show. But it is about the fact that the first half of our life is really about accumulating things, and the second half should be about starting to shed the worldly possessions, starting to pare down, give them away, clean them out, so that when we pass, our loved ones are not overly burdened with possessions, and they can grieve us, or they can focus on getting us settled in assisted living, or they just don't have this intense burden in the midst of their own lives of having to clean out our belongings. Now, I did a post about this on Threads, and a few people, what do the kids say? I got dragged and told that I was very selfish for complaining about cleaning out my mother's possessions. And I pushed back on that quite a bit, because I would never want to put my kids through this. And for the past probably 15 years, for sure for the past 10 years, we have been trying to help mom through this process of paring down her belongings. Now, number 5 of these 5 things I'm going to share is probably the most important if you are walking this with a loved one. But the first 4 are more like lessons that I've learned and things that I'm going to implement in my own home immediately. So this video is not really about mom, but it is because what I just walked through is my worst nightmare. It is the thing that is my motivation. It is the thing that I am determined not to do to my children. So that's why I'm sharing it with you today. Now, if you think I'm selfish for having this be a lot of anguish and a lot of turmoil, I don't know what to tell you, but time that I should have been spent helping mom adjust to her new reality, I spent going through garbage. I'm not okay with that. My days with her are very precious to me. My time with her is very precious to me. I did not want to spend that time focusing on her things. We still have her. But many, many kids find themselves trying to grieve and do this process. And it is not okay. In our situation, going through the things had to happen very aggressively due to financial constraints and the cost of assisted living. I would not wish what we just went through on anyone. I have actually in my brain had to kind of tell myself that her house burnt down because there were so many possessions and so many belongings that I know for a fact are going to end up in a landfill or sold to the highest bidder in the estate sale, simply because no one could take the months that would be required to go through all of her possessions. So what did I learn about myself? On the plane on the way back, I came up with the following 5 things that I want to take away from this. And if I seem like, oh, she doesn't seem like she's that upset, trust me, until today, I could not have filmed this video. This has been a journey. Today, I'm feeling really good. Even as far as yesterday, I was like, I don't know if I can do this video this week. And then today I woke up and I was like, I can do it. Plus I got my hair done. So that made me feel better. And mom is good. I suppose I should have opened with that. She's settling in. She's adjusting to her new reality. There's been some bumps along the road. I will talk more about that journey at a later date. But today, let's talk about things and stuff in our homes, okay? So we have to start with, we all own too much crap. You own too much crap. A few of you don't. Most of you hearing this own too much crap. And if you are listening to my voice and you're already getting mad, you don't have to watch this video. If your kids are already nagging you, though, about what I'm talking about, you need to watch this video, because there are, as someone who is walking through it right this second, let me tell you, your kids, when you either pass or need to downsize for a medical reason, as my mom is doing, they don't want to spend their time going through your crap. They want to spend their time with you. Okay, so the number one thing that was reiterated to me and really has filled my soul with determination is throw away trash. Throw it away today, throw it away tomorrow, throw it away on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, an annual basis. How do we define trash? Well, obvious trash, but then also things that don't work, things that are stained, things that are damaged, things that are outdated, whether that be a clock radio or an appliance that doesn't work, or broken utensils, anything that cannot be useful to you. And if it's actually trash, needs to unfortunately go in a landfill. If it can be donated, we need to donate it. But clearing out things that are no longer serving us has to be done all the time. You cannot do it once and then just leave it alone. Even if you let 3 months, 4 months, 6 months go by, creep will happen. More will come into your home. Everything from junk mail to electronics boxes to you name it. Appliance manuals for appliances that are no longer owned, that haven't been owned, that weren't even owned in the home that we're currently in. Throw things away. Shred documents. You only need to keep tax returns for, I think it's either 5 or 7 years. If you want to do 7 years to be on the safe side, you do not need to keep every receipt. You do not need to keep tax documents. You don't even need to keep mortgage papers after a certain time. You can scan those, you can save them digitally, but get rid of your trash. And the way that has played out in this case, because we had to move everything so quickly, we were tearing through papers, trying to make sure there was nothing with social security numbers, tax returns, anything with sensitive information, in addition to looking for any important family papers that someone might want. And at the end of the day, it would not have been possible, because papers were stored in 5 different places. They were boxes and suitcases, and on and on and on and on it went. There was no way for us to go through all of this. And I'm very sad and scared for what the estate sale people are going to find. Although they did tell me that they do, if they find sensitive paperwork, they do set it aside. They take a picture, send it to us, and then we decide if we want it shredded or if we want to get it or whatever. And I'll do a whole nother video if you guys want about the process of the estate sale, because there really are some amazing people that will do this, but it is very, very expensive. And in our case, it's been very traumatic. So best not to have to leave it to them, but if you do, there are services available that do that. So get rid of your garbage, whatever that looks like. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time to start is today. The second thing. So number 2 is spend money on good things. Don't spend money on garbage. And what I mean by that is, if you don't need, we buy too much stuff. And fast fashion and inexpensive handbags and cheap costume jewelry all ends up in a landfill. Now, I understand everyone's financial reality is different. I will only speak to our situation. Mom could have had one beautiful Italian leather handbag instead of 15 cheap knockoff, poorly made handbags. That was within her reality. There was just too much of too much. Too many things. Too much stuff. Over-consumerism. In this country, we overly consume. We do not need all this stuff. And there is am I saying you have to be in a room with a table and a chair? 100% no. Like, you can have beautiful things around you. You do not need shopping halls. You do not need to make recreational shopping what you do for fun. Stop bringing more belongings into your life. I now have for myself a very, very, very strict, if one thing comes in new, two things have to go out. I just purchased myself yet another personal item bag, which I actually love, and I'm going to do a review for you guys on it. But I got rid of 2 other bags. I brought in a suitcase. I got rid of 2 other suitcases. I don't want the sum total of my possessions to get any bigger. I want it to keep going down. And I am going to still need to be replacing things, but I'm going to spend my money on good quality things that are going to stand the test of time, that I can use for the rest of my life and maybe even pass on to someone else. So don't waste money constantly buying the latest fad, the fast fashion, all the things, because you're guaranteeing that those things are going to go in a landfill. So this whole idea of mindful consumption is actually part of this bigger picture. Swedish death cleaning does not mean living a minimalist life or never buying something new. Let me tell you, you are absolutely allowed to have things around you that bring you joy. What you can't do is have things in bins and boxes that you don't even know exist and that you might have thought at some point you would give to someone that you love, and then the time passes and then those things end up in a landfill or sold at an estate sale. I found a box in the storage room with my baby sweater in it. And it was back then, I think they might still do that today, but a lot of times you'll have gender neutral baby clothing for christenings and baby pictures and things, so that those things can be used generation after generation. Not that baby clothes have a gender anyway, but you know what I'm getting at. It's not like clearly a boy clothes, girl clothes, whatever. It's just an infant gown or whatever. And I found a beautiful blue, made in Spain wool sweater that was my baby sweater that I didn't even know existed. I could have photographed my children in that sweater. We could have passed that sweater down to my nieces and nephews. That could have been a beautiful family tradition. But because of all of the things, honestly, I don't think she even knew it was there. I found it. I gave it to my niece who is pregnant with her 3rd child, with the hope that maybe she can start some sort of tradition around it. Maybe she can't. I don't know. But that's just one example of hundreds that I was faced with. There were reasons why mom could not let go of things. And I am not in any way, shape, or form criticizing her for that. But it has been a huge burden for us. And in a way that is time that I could have been spending with her, I have been spending on going through her things. And that I'm not okay with. I'm not okay with. And I'm not going to do that to my children. So yeah, Swedish death cleaning doesn't mean minimalism. However, make sure you know what you have and make sure that those things are actually bringing you joy and that they're not in a box in the back of the closet somewhere and you don't even know that they exist. Okay. Practice winnowing. Winnowing is such a beautiful word. I think I've always known that this was a word, but I've heard it more recently. You know how that happens? You hear a word and then you start hearing it everywhere. It's a farming term that means separating the good stuff from the junk. So if you have things that you hope to pass on to the next generation, have those things stored in such a way that they are very easy to find. The reality is none of us knows when this is going to happen. And it's amazing to me because even people that are in their 70s, 80s, even 90s somehow seem to have a disconnect between their life and when they will leave this earth. But if you have things that you want other people to have, set them aside. If you want to keep living with them because it's something that's beautiful and you want to have around you, either have a document where it's labeled, label it on the bottom, do something to let your family know what your wishes are for that thing. If it's something that you don't need or want to live with anymore, but you want to pass it on to someone else, give it to them now. By the way, with no expectation. Like, what you can't do is give it to them with the expectation that they're going to keep it generation after generation. We're not going to do that. We don't give things with strings attached. But if there's a particular item that you really want someone to have, do not wait to either label it, have a document somewhere, have it with your will, or give it to them now. Because if there is a situation where this all happens very quickly, which happens more than you think, there will be no time. There will be no time. I know for a fact that things that my mom would have wanted passed on to future generations are being sold right now as I am recording this in an estate sale, because there just was no time. I live in another state. My brother and sister both have very busy full-time jobs. No one could stop their lives to sort through a 3,500 square foot house with 2 floors and every closet and every drawer and every storage room and a complete garage filled with things, and no differential between the good things that we could have passed on and the junk. Practice winnowing and practice setting things aside in a way that makes sense, so that if the worst should happen, it's very easy for your family to be able to tell what you want distributed, who you want it to go through, all of those kinds of things. And the time to do that is probably right now. And I will be doing this more and more. Since I've been home, I've cleaned out a whole bunch of stuff. I've already cleaned out so much stuff, as you guys know if you've watched my videos. But this has motivated me even more, and especially in regards to starting to designate who is going to get what when I pass away. I'm already starting to gather that information. And that may sound morbid to some of you, but if it does, you're not walking through it right this second. I am. So it's not morbid to me. It is me being the best friend of my future self and the best friend of my children, and ensuring that this can be a peaceful and joyful transition for all of us and not maddening stress. There have been moments during this process, because keep in mind, we're trying to get her, find assisted living for her, get her settled in assisted living, convince her that she should be in assisted living. And that video is over on Patreon if you're interested in more on that, and deal with her physical possessions. It is too much. And there are 3 adults involved, myself, my brother, my sister, really 4, and my sister-in-law. And it's too much. And we do not need to be doing this to our children. Okay, next thing. Actually, I kind of combined 3 and 4, because 3 was practice winnowing and 4 was give things to people now. So now I'm talking about number 5. And number 5 is probably the most important thing, especially if you have someone that you care about that struggles with either hoarding or just having a lot of collections or having a lot of things that they have not sorted through. I have a huge regret around this, because the last probably 10 years, every single visit that I have been home to visit my mom, we have had a huge, not argument, but lots and lots and lots of discussion around her belongings. And it has been a very huge bone of contention. And I have wasted a lot of time that I could have spent in good conversations with my mom, talking about her crap. In hindsight, please don't be me on this. In hindsight, once I realized that there was an actual psychological component to her possessions. Okay, hold on. Sadie wants in. Hold on, Sadie. Once I realized that she was not going to change in this area, I wish I had just let it go and started a fund to pay for the removal process, and reconciled my brain to the fact that she was not going to clean it out, that it was going to be a disaster, but just set aside money for the process and just let it go. Mom now, with her dementia, can no longer have a whole lot of conversations with me. She's still here, but the good, deep conversations are over. And this is what's really heartbreaking about Alzheimer's and dementia, is they call it the long goodbye. I wasted hours of time that I could have been spending with her, helping her with the changes in her life and asking good questions and having conversations about her mom and about my dad, things that are starting to not be able to happen anymore. I wasted being anxious and stressed out about her stuff. My motive was I didn't want this to happen. But this happened anyway. And now I still had to deal with the ramifications of her not dealing with her things, which is what I was frustrated with. And bonus, the sadness that I wasted so much energy trying to get her to address this issue that she was not going to address. So this last comment might be shocking for some of you. You might be very surprised to hear me say this, but you cannot control other people's behavior. You can only control your own. So if you have a loved one that you are walking through this with and you are spending lots of time and energy trying to convince them to go through their things, stop it. You cannot change them. You can only control your own behavior. And I would give anything to have the hours of conversation that I spent trying to convince her to deal with her things to have been about other things that I now can no longer talk to her about. That's a lot. That was a huge epiphany for me. That was probably one of the biggest ahas of my life. And I don't know how to reconcile that yet. And you know, I'm sure some of you in the comments will be like, don't beat yourself up or whatever. It's not about beating myself up. It's about time that I cannot get back. I cannot get back that time. So get rid of your crap. Stop buying so much. Designate who you want things to go to and start that process now. Know what you have. And remember that you cannot control other people's behavior. You can only control your own. I hope this made some semblance of sense. I knew that I was running a risk. I'm very, very emotional right now of this making no sense at all. I kind of feel like it's one of those videos that a lot of people will be like, this chick is crazy. And then some of you are going to be like, oh yeah, okay, I hear that. And I hope that it's resonated with somebody. That's all I really hope ever. Again, if you want more information about our journey with Mom and her dementia, I will be releasing the videos that I'm making on that at some point to the public. Right now, it's not the time to do that, but you can join us over on Patreon and you can access those videos there. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you're finding joy. Thank you for being here. The fact that I have a platform to talk about anything at all is something I'm grateful for each and every day. If you like this kind of content, in addition to a whole bunch of other things that have nothing to do with this and are really fun, like travel and packing and luggage reviews and things like that, please go ahead and subscribe. It would mean the world to me to have you here. And I just love you guys. Hang in there and I'll talk to you soon.